Hey everyone, welcome to Financial Foundations. I am Shannon Acosta and I've got Hall with me today.
We are both advisors here at Benchmark Wealth Management, and today we are finishing up our series on budgeting.
We have two questions for you. Real quick, do we have a preview for next month? What will we be talking about in April?
Great question. Next month we're talking about retirement, retirement savings, investing, kind of high level, but just touching on what you should be aiming for, and just overall general goals to set for that retirement date.
Come on back if you want to retire, if you know somebody who wants to retire, if you are retired, there will be some nuggets for you there. Two questions. Do you want to go first or do you want me to?
Yeah, I can take it. So
Okay.
Our first question is, one, if you've watched our previous videos on budgeting, you've done all the hard work now, you've built the budget. That's the most time-consuming part. So pat yourself on the back, you've made it this far. Now it's not necessarily a set it and forget it, but it's how often do you need to review that budget? Some people will build that budget, do it great that first time, and then they never look at it again. That's not telling your money where to go. That's just being ideal about it and never putting it in practice. So you want to make sure that you're reviewing that budget at least once a month, because every month life happens, things can change. You want to make sure that that budget is staying up to date on, inflation's happening right now. We've had to review our budget, and our grocery budget has gone up recently. But you just be intentional about it. Make sure you're looking at it at least monthly. Some people choose to do it weekly. Whatever works best for your situation, just make sure that you're doing it at least once a month. And not only you're looking forward to what this next month could have in store. Do you have 4 birthday gifts that you got to plan for, or Christmas, or whatever it may be? Not only look forward, but also look backwards. Did what we set out to do last month happen? Where was there a disconnect? Why was there a disconnect? And then plan for it in the future. As long as you're accounting for it, you're going to continue to tell your money where it's going, being intentional about it. That's when you have the most control over your finances, and when you'll start to reach those long-term goals down the road.
And you kind of touched on it, Hall, but I want to ask the question more directly. When you say review your budget, are you talking about creating a new one from scratch every single month? That sounds kind of labor intensive. It's pretty hard to come up with a budget to begin with. So what does it look like to review it?
Yeah, so if you're creating it from scratch every month, I doubt you'll be doing this for long, because that's a lot of work. I would take what that base budget is, and then just plug in what you spent on that grocery bill or gas bill or whatever it may be. Just plug it into your current budget overall. And then you're making those slight adjustments month to month or week to week on what that looks like. And so it's a growing, living organism. It's never going to be set for your entire life. It's going to change at least yearly, but you want to make sure that you're staying on track on a month-by-month basis.
So for example, we're in a season where we're planning for summer camps for our kids right now when they're not in school. And I know we're going to be paying for some of that next month. I would take my main budget and just line item for whatever that might cost.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if you have that go up, you want to make sure somewhere else in that budget is offsetting it. Okay. So maybe your savings is going down because now you're cash flowing. Maybe you've been saving it for the past. Now you can reduce it from that savings account.
Cool, very helpful, thank you. The last question is probably the trickiest one, and we want to be sensitive. The question is, how can I get my spouse on board? There are, I don't know, thousands of ways to do a budget the right way, and there are thousands of ways to communicate the right way with your spouse about a budget as well. There's one guarantee that we have, and that is that it will not work by forcing it out like medicine. And this is just basic communication. Whether you're married or whether you're in a long-term relationship or partnered with somebody, there are situations in life and relationships where one of you will feel more strongly about something than the other. Ideally, we do want to see and love to see couples on the same, but there's a right way to get there. And it comes down to communication. Watch your words. Are your dreams? You never, you always, I always, words like that they teach us not to use in counseling. Avoid those. And watch what you say and how you say it. Is your tone coming across as blaming, or is it coming across as collaborative? Are you trying to solve a problem together? And at the end of the day, don't approach it as though you're trying to solve their problems. Approach it as though you're expressing a feeling and a desire that you have. Remember, you can't control the other person that you're married to or living with. You can only control yourself. So do that. Express that you have a need, you have a desire, put that in front of the other person and just ask for their response. Sometimes spouses or partners will get on board right away. Other times it takes a little bit more convincing or a little bit more time. And when we say convincing, I don't mean in the sense of a manipulative convincing. You're not trying to manipulate anybody into getting on your side, but lead by example. And that's the second way that you can get your spouse on board, apart from having a good, effective communication. We have an example, a client was needing to have more of security and emergency fund. Her husband didn't see the value. Her husband saw the value more in putting all of their money to work for them in markets or real estate. That's fine. She didn't push the issue. That was a need and a desire that each of them had. What she could control was setting some money aside in the budget every month that her husband agreed to. So she did. And she did that for a long time. I think she sacrificed personally, maybe some of her own spending money, but she accumulated a little bit of a safety net that appeased her mind. Now, fast forward a year or two, husband had car trouble. He felt stressed out about it, and they weren't sure how they were going to be able to repair the car without putting it on a credit card. She would say, no problem. There was no resentment or I told you so in her tone when she did this, by the way. She had taken control over something that she could, and she was able to put into the relationship and add value based on the principles that she had been acting on. And that was a light bulb moment for the spouse. At least the curtains were able to open and they could talk through and get on the same page strategically a little bit more about how they wanted their budget to flow. Were you gonna say something?
I was just going to add another big part of the puzzle is just making sure it's not you versus them. Y'all are on the same team here. And the biggest unifier that I've seen as well is working towards that same long-term goal. And so what is it? Is it having more of a safety net? Is it paying off debt? Is it retiring early? Is it that vacation home or that big vacation trip? Whatever it may be, make sure that y'all are talking about that and you're both have that as the mutual goal in mind. And so, like, I know I'm the nerd. Know yourself as well. And my wife, she's the kite, I'm the string. So to have that understanding and work towards it together and realize, hey, this is something, I mean, she wants to do everything fun and I love that. It makes me less boring. But for me to understand, okay, we're working towards that together. This budget's forcing me to be a little bit more, have more freedom to spend on whatever it may be that we're working towards long term. And she's understanding, hey, we're sacrificing right now to save for that bigger thing long term. It's something that we've agreed on mutually and just coming as an understanding. And now it's not a, hey, you can't spend that. It's, hey, is it in the budget? Is it working towards our longer term goal that we've already agreed on together?
That's great.
Yeah, seen a big benefit from that.
Another side of leading by example is listening to your spouse in the same way that you want them to listen to you. I had a client, this couple was going after some serious debt and it was necessary. They both buckled down, they were on the same page and they went after it, but it really limited their lifestyle for a long period of time. Well, he's on fire. He's wired that way. He makes a lot of progress and he just wants to double down and keep making more. She's exhausted. And this isn't a gender thing. I mean, it goes on both sides. Sometimes the husband or the wife or one partner versus the other partner, and there's not always one locked in role. But she's exhausted. She's like, I want to live a little bit. We've been putting our nose to the grindstone for such a long time. She agreed to follow the debt payoff plan. It was his time to agree to chill out a little bit and to meet her in the middle and to give up some cash flow in the budget so that she could enjoy some of the things that she had sacrificed for it. So, I mean, at the end of the day, this isn't, like Paul said, your plan versus my plan. Now that we're on board, good, here's how we're going to do it. This is what do we both want, and keeping in mind the fact that you're both going to have to make sacrifices from time to time. But if this is your idea and you're really passionate about it, you're probably going to be the one to have to make the sacrifices first. The final thing is timing. Choose when to have the conversation. It is not when you're opening bills. It is not when you're already upset. It is not when there's other tensions to figure out. This is not something you throw onto the, oh, by the way pile. I won't tell you what it is, but there's one issue that I always correct my husband on in the wrong situation and the wrong timing. We've had so many conversations about it, and yet I keep doing it. It never works. It never works. I really have to exercise self-control, bite my tongue, wait for another moment and say, is this a good time to talk to you about this thing? And that's where we actually make progress. So apply the communication principles that we all know and love about relationships and marriage. You've got to sacrifice first. You've got to communicate well and be empathetic. And then lead by example. You're on the same team. Anything else that you would add?
I think that wraps it up. Appreciate y'all tuning in.
Yes, budgeting has been fun. We did it. And we'll see you next month for retirement.